What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. As always, I want to remind you guys that if you want to donate to this channel, you want to show love to this channel, you can in the links provided in the description box of this video. Now, I want to do this video before the game starts in a couple of hours. So, I wanted to talk about this before. I don't think I've talked about this in a video before. But I feel compelled to talk about this now. And what it is I'm just so tired of this ongoing narrative from LeBron James fan boys that every team that LeBron James has lost in the playoffs with, he's playing with a bunch of bums. I always hear this. I always hear this shit about he's playing with a bunch of bums, right? Okay. Now, the thing that I hear a lot of people say who are LeBron James fan boys is that Kevin Durant joined the super team 3 years ago, while LeBron joined an average team in Miami, right? That's their talking point narrative. Yet they're inconsistent with this because at the same time they say that, right? They'll say, yeah, but we had to beat a super team in Boston. And we couldn't beat that Boston team. They were a super team. But wait a minute. Before Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen joined that team, they weren't even an average team. They sucked. They sucked. Didn't they only win like 20 something games? Now, I think Paul Pierce had some injury issues that season. That's fair. But they only won 20 something games, right? They went from 20 something games to going 60, what was it, 66-16 in the regular season? Won the NBA championship. So they're also saying, well, and don't tell me, because number one, I've been on this YouTube shit for over a decade, and number two, I used to be a big LeBron James fan and supporter and defender. Okay? So I know the talking points. So you can't have both ways. You can't sit there and say, well, that Boston Celtics team was a super team, but the team that LeBron colluded with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade to join, oh, but that's different though. Now, look, from a competitive standpoint, I have to admit, I was not a fan personally of Kevin Durant joining the Golden State Warriors. I just thought that it was kind of weird for him to join a team that just eliminated his team, 5 weeks earlier or so, 6 weeks earlier. But at the same time, at the same time, that's that man's decision. Apparently, it was the right decision for Kevin Durant. Okay? It was the right decision for him. And whatever the decision is most comfortable for him, everybody should support. And really, to be honest with you, I don't think LeBron James fanboys really have a leg to stand on when it comes to someone trying to chase the best situation for them possible. Because as we all know right now, the Lakers are trying frantically to produce yet another super team. So you keep this same energy for LeBron with him trying to create another super team yet again with this Laker team. But what I really want to talk about in this video, what really gets on my skin, is when people say, well, that 2010 team, he played with a bunch of bums. Now, if I remember correctly, that Cleveland Cavaliers team won 61 ball games, and I remember Mike Brown being coach of the year, right? And I never heard that he was playing with a bunch of bums narrative start until that team was eliminated in, what was it, Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, I believe it was, against the Boston Celtics. I think it was the conference final. I don't think it was the semis. If it was the semis, someone can correct me. I thought it was the conference finals. Now, it wasn't until they were eliminated that all of a sudden you heard oh, he's playing with a bunch of bums, which is bullshit. Now, true, he was not playing with another comparable superstar or another true all-star player on that team. But you know, another guy who wasn't playing with a bunch of superstars or all-stars and won it all, Akeem Olajuwon. 1994, he wasn't playing with another all-star. The closest thing he was playing to an all-star playing with an all-star was Otis Thorpe. And Otis Thorpe was an all-star once in 92. He was the only all-star on that team. Okay. What I remember about that Cleveland Cavaliers team is everyone was saying, this is the squad, finally, that's going to take LeBron over the hump and be able to win a ring. I remember the mantra that year was that team was going to win a ring for the king. Okay? Shaquille O'Neal was on that team. Now, Shaquille O'Neal was near the tail end of his career. He was not the same Big Daddy Diesel that he was with the Los Angeles Lakers and maybe his first season or so with the Miami Heat. But he still was a solid, dependable center. You can't teach size. He still was 7 feet, okay? He still was 340 to 50 pounds, okay? You had to deal with him down low, okay? He still was putting up decent numbers. Well, you know, that team also had Mo Williams. Now, was Mo Williams a superstar player? No, he was not. Okay, but Mo Williams was far from a quote bum. If I remember correctly, later on in his career, when he was a little bit older, actually, didn't Mo Williams put up a 52-point game? I don't think bums put up 52 points in a game. Okay. Also, if I remember correctly, Mo Williams usually was putting up 16 to 17 points and about 6, 7 assists per game, right? Now, those numbers are comparable to what Chris Paul probably put up this past season. Now, I'm not saying that Mo Williams was Chris Paul, but what I'm saying is the best of Mo Williams is probably close to this lessened version of Chris Paul, at least statistically. Okay? Antoine Jameson. Now, Antoine Jameson, or Anton Jameson, however the hell you pronounce his name, Anton Jameson was on that team. Now, Anton Jameson, I believe, was a 3-time All-Star. Really should have been a 4-time All-Star because that 2000-2001 season, statistically his best season in the NBA, he averaged nearly 25 points per game that year. That's the same year he had that back-to-back 50-point burst. One of those games was against the Lakers. I remember that because Kobe also had 51 points in that game. All right? So he had multiple seasons. I think it was 4 seasons, I think it was, where Jameson had seasons averaging 20 points or more. And when he was traded from the Wizards to the Cavaliers that year, all right, he was averaging 20 points per game for the Wizards. And then you have Zydrunas Ilgauskas, all right, probably, let me say, was Zydrunas Ilgauskas the best center in the history of the Cleveland Cavaliers? No, I can't really say that. I have to go with probably when you include longevity, probably Brad Daugherty. Nate Thurman wasn't a Cavalier long enough for me to say that he was the best center in their history. But I definitely would say that Ilgauskas is probably, I got to think about this before I say it, 'cause I got to think about some other centers. But I think Zydrunas Ilgauskas is probably the 3rd best center in the history of that franchise, especially when you consider his longevity. All right? And Zydrunas Ilgauskas definitely should be in the Cleveland Cavaliers individual Hall of Fame as a center. But yeah, he's a bum. And that team had a lot of solid veteran players. A lot of solid veteran players on that team. Okay? So to sit there and act like that team sucked was bullshit. Okay? Absolute bullshit. I remember that team had, I think it was Daniel Booby Gibson, all right? Knocking down threes everywhere for that team. You know what I'm saying? I think they had Leon Poe, if I'm not mistaken. Leon Poe, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was on that Celtic team a couple of years earlier. We all know about Delonte West. I don't got to get too much into that. LeBron probably don't want to hear that name again for the rest of his life. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So you had J.J. Hickson. He was solid. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that team had a rookie. I don't know if he played in the playoffs, but that team had a rookie in Danny Green, who's currently playing in the NBA Finals. Matter of fact, this is Danny Green's third NBA Finals. So was that team loaded with talent? No. It wasn't like loaded with talent, but to say he was playing with a bunch of bums? Nah, come on, man. No. No, he wasn't playing with a bunch of bums. Okay, well then if you want to go that route then, if you want to go that route, let me see. Let me look up something right quick. Because you know what team I'm bringing up. If y'all follow my channel, y'all know what team I'm going to bring up. No excuses. You never heard this individual say, oh, well, the reason why my team ain't won the championship because I was playing with a bunch of bums. 2001 Philadelphia 76ers. They went all the way to the NBA Finals, right? This is Allen Iverson's squad. Eric Snow, Pepe Sanchez, Theo Ratliff earlier, but then he got traded for the Dikembe Mutombo, Kevin Ollie, Nazir Muhammad, Anthony Miller, Rashawn McLeod, Aaron McKee, and old Vernon Maxwell, Todd McCullough, George Lynch, and old Tony Kukoc, Jermaine Jones, Tyrone Hill, who was old, Matt Geiger, Rodney Buford, Roger Bell. Does that team scream superstar potential to you? No. But Allen Iverson took that team on his back to the NBA Finals and did something that no other team was ever able to do in that playoffs, and that was beat that Laker team in the playoffs. That Laker team, to me, was the most dominant playoff team that I've ever seen. Even more dominant than that Warriors team. That I think went, what did they go, 16-1 or something like that? 16-2? That team, now, if somebody had to cry about playing with guys, like really, outside of Iverson, I'm looking at this team now. There was no other consistent scorer. None. People want to call Antoine Jameson a bum. Since when did bum score 20,000 career points? Somebody tell me, since when does bums score 20,000 career points, man? Come on, man. This shit's crazy, man. So Jonas Ilgauskas had almost 11,000 career points, 1,300 career blocks, shot 78% from the foul line, 48% from the floor, and 31% from three-point range. And this was in the era before, centers started shooting threes and shit. Come on, man. I just get tired of that narrative, man. And then people say, well, that team went from 61 wins to like 19 wins or something like that, because that just goes to show you how great LeBron was. Yes, that team really did miss LeBron James after he left. But let's not forget about the injuries. Mo Williams missed a huge portion, most of that season. I think Anderson Varejao, who I haven't mentioned, he missed huge portion of that season. Okay. Um, I think some other players were injured during the regular season. Mike Brown was fired. That whole coaching staff was fired. So they really didn't. That franchise was floundering. They didn't have even their second and third and fourth best players. So of course they barely won a handful of their games. But that 2009, 2010 Cavaliers team was a lot better than people are now saying in hindsight. You know, that shit just irritated me because I never heard he was playing with a bunch of bums by LeBron fans while they were playing that season and during the playoffs. I only started hearing that shit after they were eliminated in the playoffs by the Boston Celtics. That's when I started hearing, oh, he was playing with a bunch of bums. And that's y'all main thing. Y'all do that every fucking year. Y'all did that last year after LeBron James eliminated in the playoffs by the Golden State Warriors. Oh, he's playing with a bunch of bums. He's playing with a bunch of bums. And the media pushes that narrative. Because unless LeBron's playing with another future Hall of Famer or multiple Hall of Famers, his team isn't good enough. You guys are inconsistent, man. You chastise Kevin Durant for playing with multiple Hall of Famers, but yet when LeBron James is in the same situation, when he was with Miami Heat playing with Dwayne Wade, a future Hall of Famer, Ray Allen, a future Hall of Famer, okay, Mike Miller, former Rookie of the Year, Shane Battier, perennial defensive stalwart. You know what I'm saying? When he's playing on this squad, I didn't hear that. Or he was playing with a whole bunch of Hall of Famers and great players and shit. And stop it. That Miami Heat team was deep. They might have had a whole bunch of, like, outside of Ray Allen and Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. Yeah, it might not have been a whole bunch of like super duper talent on that team outside of that. But then you had Udonis Haslem, who will most likely have his jersey retired by the Miami Heat when he retires. And yes, he will. I don't give a fuck. If you young, you don't know about that. You don't know how long and how much Udonis Haslem means to that franchise. His jersey will be retired, okay, by that franchise when everything is said and done. Okay? Let me look at this team right now. Ilgauskas played in that team. I think it was his last season. Jamal McGlure, who, if you don't know, was actually an all-star one year. Jerry Stackhouse was on that team. Eddie House, Mario Chalmers, Mike Bibby. Come on, man. Stop